Ethiopia to Burkina Faso, arise, Rastafari. The interview. It's the motivator here. I know you're here to experience another inspirational podcast, and welcome to you. Welcome. Can you help us out? We need to secure 100,000 new subscribers to the channel. Have you subscribed? Have you shared copies of links to this video with your friends, your network, the wider community? Help us to secure 100,000 new subscribers to our YouTube channel. Arise, Rastafari. Arise, Rastafari. Arise, Rastafari. Arise, Rastafari. Arise, Rastafari. Leonard Percival Howe, born June 16, 1898, in the parish of Clarendon on the island of Jamaica. He was born a hero, a scholar, and beyond a shadow of doubt, died a hero defending his community. Considered a pioneer figure in the Rastafari movement. After returning to Jamaica in 1932, he began preaching about the divinity of Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia, identifying him as the Messiah. In 1935, Howe published The Promise Key, outlining the movement's principles. He also established in Jamaica the Pinnacle Community, which became the central hub for Rastafarians at that time. Joseph Hibbert, born 1894. He was another early preacher who played a significant role in the spread of Rastafari beliefs. His teaching emphasized the divinity of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I and the importance of our African heritage. Archibald Dunkley was amongst the early priests in Jamaica who contributed to the foundation of Rastafari. Like his contemporaries, he promoted the recognition of Haile Selassie as the first black Messiah and advocated for black self-determination. Robert Hines was also instrumental in the early development of Rastafari. He, along with Howe, Hibbert and Dunkley, emphasized the significance of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I's coronation and encouraged a return to African roots. Praise Jah Rastafari. These individuals, influenced by the teachings of Marcus Garvey and the coronation of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, laid the foundational beliefs and the practices of Rastafari, promoting African identity, resistance to oppression, and spiritual connection to Ethiopia. Praise Jah Rastafari. Praise Jah Rastafari. Praise Jah Rastafari. The Rastafari movement is characterized by a decentralized, non-hierarchical organizational structure, reflecting its emphasis on individual spiritual autonomy and resistance to central authority. This approach is rooted in a deliberate effort to avoid replicating the hierarchical systems associated with Babylon, a term used by Rastas to describe oppressive societal structures. Rastafari does not possess a formal centralized organization or singular leadership. Instead, it comprises a network of individuals and groups known as houses or mansions. This reticulates or web-like structure allows for a diverse range of beliefs and practices within the movement, fostering a sense of community whilst preserving individual autonomy. The mansions of Rastafari. The three most prominent mansions include the House of Nyabinghi, considered one of the oldest and most traditional Rastafari orders. The Nyabinghi emphasized the worship of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I as the living God, and the importance of African repatriation. They are known for their drumming and chanting ceremonies, which plays a central role in their spiritual practice. The mansion of Bobo Ashanti. Founded in the 1950s, the Bobo Ashanti adhere to a strict interpretation of Rastafari principles, including the observance of Old Testament laws and the separation from mainstream societies. Members are identifiable by their distinctive turbans and robes, symbolizing purity and priesthood. The 12 Tribes of Israel Mansion, established in 1968 by Vernon Carrington, also known as Prophet Gad. This mansion organizes its members according to the 12 sons of Jacob from the Bible. The 12 tribes are noted for their more liberal and individualistic approach, allowing for a broader interpretation of Rastafari beliefs. In 1948, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I of Ethiopia allocated 500 acres of land in Shashamane to members of the Ethiopian World Federation. This gesture was an appreciation for the support Ethiopia received during the Second Italian-Ethiopian War. Initially, African Americans were the primary beneficiaries, but by the 1960s, Jamaicans Rastafarians began to settle in the area, viewing it as a fulfillment of their spiritual aspirations to return to Africa, often referred to as the Promised Land. For Rastas, Ethiopia, and particularly Shashamane, symbolizes a spiritual homeland. The settlement represents the realization of the Rasta belief in repatriation to Africa, aligning with their reverence for His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie, whom they consider divine. Establishing a community in Shashamane allows for Rastas to live in accordance with their spiritual and cultural values, fostering a sense of belonging and fulfillment. Praise Jah Rastafari. The connection between Rastafari and reggae music is profound, rooted in shared themes, mutual influence, and historical developments. Reggae became a powerful medium for expressing Rastafari beliefs and has played a critical role in spreading the movement globally. Reggae often incorporates Rastafari spiritual themes, such as the reverence for His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, or indeed Zion, a metaphor for Africa and the hope for repatriation. Songs frequently include references to Rastafari rituals, such as the Nyabinghi drumming, and the use of patois reflects Rastafari linguistic identity. Both reggae music and Rastafari addresses social justice, inequality, and resistance to Babylon, which represents oppressive systems including colonialism and systematic racism. Reggae lyrics often critique societal structures and promote liberation, echoing Rastafari's teaching. Reggae highlights themes of Pan-Africanism, unity and pride in African heritage central to Rastafari ideology. Praise Jah Rastafari. Priest Forrester, let me start with you, I think.
My Lord.
Yes, let me start with you. Thank you. Now,
thank you.
It is good that you and I are speaking directly. It is well, and your reputation precedes you. Okay. Now I know you, but I want my guests, my viewers, to get to know you as well as I know you. Can I ask you, please, to introduce yourself, to say your name and the organization from which you are a important leader? You are the priest. Please explain. Please explain for my audience.
Okay, my Lord. Thank you very much for this privileged opportunity, this good and upright moment. My name is Honorable Priest Linton Forrester, and I'm a member of the Ethiopia, Africa, Black International Congress Church of True Divine Salvation as a member from 1973. Give thanks and a royal guard of the Congress, my Lord. Give thanks to the family.
Thank you so much. That's you have many titles there, I note. Many
titles. Lord, natural.
Yeah.
Yes,
and you manage them very well, if I may say so. You manage them very well. Thank you. Can I also now just move to Raspados?
I can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Perfect. Can I ask you also? We got to that later on. Can I ask you, please, just to introduce your name and the organization from which you represent?
I follow the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo faith, the same faith of His Majesty, which he declared his greatest accomplishment, which he restored to Ethiopia. I'm also the chairman of the Ethiopian World Federation, Charter 43, 6th region.
I'm going to ask you, just for clarity's sake, to explain what you mean by the Ethiopian World Federation, first of all. Just explain what that means, first of all, just for the benefit of the audience.
Yes, the Ethiopian World Federation is what was sent by His Imperial Majesty as his emissary government, as it relates to our people that were in shackled slavery by the European sovereign rulers. So the Ethiopian World Federation was sent and established.
The Ethiopian World Federation, incorporated EWF, is an intergovernmental organization that was founded on August 25th, 1937 in New York City under the authority of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I by Dr. Prince Emmanuel Charles and Princess Dorothy Baden. Ethiopian World Federation aims an objective. EWF shall promote love and goodwill amongst Ethiopians at home and abroad, and thereby maintain the integrity and sovereignty of Ethiopia, to disseminate the ancient Ethiopian culture amongst its members, to correct abuses, relieve oppression, and carve for ourselves and our posterity a destiny comparable with our ideas for perfect manhood and God's purpose in creating us, that we may not only save ourselves from annihilation, but also carve for ourselves a place in the sun. In this endeavor, we determine to seek peace and pursue it, for it is the will of God for man. Ethiopian World Federation's aims and objective. EWF shall promote and pursue happiness, for it is the goal of human life and endeavor to usher in the teaching and practice of the fatherhood of God and the brotherhood of man, to promote and stimulate interest amongst its members in world affairs, and to cultivate a spirit of international goodwill and community, to promote friendly interest amongst its members, to develop a fraternal spirit amongst them, and to inculcate in its members the desire to render voluntary aid and assistance to one another at all times. Ethiopian World Federation aims and objective. EWF shall. Article 11, Section 1. Observance of national holidays. The Ethiopian World Federation Incorporated shall observe with appropriate ceremonies the following days: Maskell Festival, birthday of Emperor Haile Selassie I, Constitution Day, and any other holiday that shall be declared. Well, and thank you for that clarification. Thank you for the clarification. Can I move back to you, Priest Forrester, and thank you for introducing yourself.
Yes,
thank you. I'm going to ask my first question to you, and this will help many in the audience. A question that put to me quite often: is Rastafari a religion, or is it a way of life?
It's a way of life.
Ooh, explain, please. Mm-hmm.
A way of life, because, we have our founder, our leader, mm-hmm. our president, our God, our king, mm-hmm. And we have, the 6-day work, which is the way of life. 6 days shall thou labor and do all thy work. And 7th day is the day of rest, the Sabbath of rest.
Yes.
So that's what it's meant by the way of life. We work with that 6th day and rest on the 7th day. And that's the way of life for all nation, my Lord.
And if I may just take that one stage further, what you described is the experience of one who is Rastafari. But what would make Rastafari, a person who's a follower of Rastafari, distinctive in their way of life? What would that mean? What would be distinctive about someone who's of Rastafari, that way of life? What is distinctive about it?
What is distinctive about that way of life is mm-hmm. Numbers 6. We go to the Bible.
Okay.
Numbers 6, it instructs you about the way you should live, like the food you should eat, the word you should speak, the place you should go, and so on, my Lord.
Okay. I'm still going to ask you, what does that mean? That's for the for those who are not familiar with the Bible. Mm-hmm.
Okay. For those who are not familiar with the Bible, mm-hmm. meaning they don't read that chapter.
Okay.
But you got to go to that chapter and you see it show you a way to put away the comb, the scissors, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's the way of life, mm-hmm. To identify everyone with with the Creator, He said, make us of his own image and likeness. So that image of the dreadlocks is the way of life, my Lord, and family.
Yes, I understand. I may probe a little further later on, but before I do, it is well. But before I do that, and I will come back to you, Russ Polis, in a moment. I just want to just clarify. In my research, I see that there are 3 primary mentions of Rastafari: Nyabinghi, Bobo Ashanti, and 12 tribes. What is the difference? What is the purpose of these mentions? So first of all, let's start with Nyabinghi. What is distinctive about the Nyabinghi mansion or house, if you like?
Nyabinghi. My knowledge of Nyabinghi from an early age is Nyabinghi Order is pronounced death to the wicked and life to the righteous.
Yes.
So the members of Nyabinghi are all representative. All those with locks are called Nyabinghi, my Lord.
Okay. And
is that clear?
I got the locks, so it's fine. But what gives them their distinctiveness as Nyabinghi as opposed to Bobo Ashanti or 12 tribes? What gives them their distinctiveness?
Well, the distinction is the banners. We work with a banner that the red is up and a banner with the red down. Right. So Nyabinghi in that sense mean when the red is down, we are going through a period of war. Yes. And when the red is up, we are going through a peaceful and joyful time, like the Sabbath day. Right. We are on Sabbath when the red is up. When the red is down, the Nyabinghi show is dead to the wicked. Okay. So the 12 tribe, they support that part of this tradition, and the Nyabinghi, the Nyabinghi, they support the turn down red at that stage. Am I clear enough, my Lord?
It is getting clearer, but it's okay. So can you also then give us a distinction for the Bobo Ashanti? What is distinctive about that particular mansion, as we refer to them?
That particular mansion, the Bobo Ashanti, our king has given us a constitution and a principle that would govern the church.
Okay.
So the Bobo Ashanti stand as the churchical part of the Rastafari people,
Okay.
The faith is also a strength to the church, right, my Lord.
Okay. So you're saying that the Bobo Ashanti, if my memory serves me right, was founded in the 50s, okay, and they adhere to a sort of strict interpretation of Rastafari principles, okay, and that's, as you say, is the observance of the Old Testament laws, and they seek to separate themselves from the main street societies. And as you say, they are identifiable because of their distinctive turbans and robes, symbolizing purity and priesthood, is my recollection. Am I right?
Yes, my Lord, you're right.
Blessed. And the 12 tribes. Okay. I said 12 tribes, but I understand the correct title is the 12 tribes of Israel mentioned. Okay. Tell us about that particular mention, which is quite interesting in some ways.
My knowledge of the 12 tribe, the 12 tribe, they talk about the 12 sons, and they would tell you that if you're born January, you're subjected to a particular lifestyle, and if you're born December, you're subjected to a particular lifestyle.
All right. Okay.
So that's all we know of a tribe. They distinctly tell you about your date of birth, your time of birth, and how you're supposed to behave. Your behavior.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay.
My
So
Lord.
so they are again distinctive. Now, again, my memory and research says that it was established in 1968 by Vernon Carrington, known as, of course, Prophet Gad.
Prophet Gad, yeah.
Yeah. Now, as you say, it's organized around the 12 sons of Jacob from the Jabal. Okay.
Truly, my Lord.
And they tend to be less strict, but more individualistic in their approach. Would that be correct way of describing them?
Yes, my priest. Yes, my king. You're okay on that.
And yeah, please go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, they are distinct on the tribal lifestyle. Like they tell you about the elect from every nation, and they also preach purity in the relationship between prince and princess.
Right. Okay.
That's all. That's what I learned from 12 tribe.
I understand.
They tell you that the black to black, white to white, and so on, my Lord.
I understand you.
My Lord.
And if I may, my priest, did it take us back to the house of Nyabinghi, which I believe is the one you're most familiar with?
Yes, my
Lord. So again, in this house, in this mansion, you emphasize and give reverence to His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I as the living God and the importance of African repatriation to Africa. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay. And what I'm familiar with as a child, that the drumming and chanting ceremonies play a central role in the spiritual practices. Would that be right? Still.
Yes, my Lord.
Praise be.
So the Nyabinghi, in the early years, Nyabinghi were at Bakawal. That's where all the house and mansion start from.
Yes.
So that is to say, from time of oil coming on, the Nyabinghi, they are the drumming part of the organization,
Yes.
So they would be the one who light the fire and tell about the consuming fire and the purging fire. They would keep you in that kind of area where you use those lifestyle for your weapon,
Yes.
The weapon that they use, my Lord.
Yes. Very good. Thank you. And that does provide some clarity. But in each of the mansions case, the intention is for the adherents to find their identity. Okay. And in each case, to reconnect ourselves with our source, which of course is Africa. Okay. And very specifically, of course, Ethiopia. Am I right in saying that?
You're right, my priest, my king.
Thank you. A question that is always put to me, and I need to put this one to you, is that...
Yes, my Lord.
Did the philosophy that we call Rastafari arise before the Christianity that we recognize it arise to the general populace? Did Rastafari come before Christianity?
Christianity. As you know, they synchronize the culture and bring forward Christianity. So, to my knowledge and what I've learned, is coming from the early centuries, you know. So it is before Christianity.
There you go. Because, in other words, you're saying that the traditional belief systems of our ancestors, okay, are of the foundations of Rastafari.
Exactly.
And we've continued as we are as a people. We absorb these other influences and make them our own. Would that be right?
Okay, yeah.
Yes, okay, good. I just want to make sure we get that. And can I, if I may, my priest, turn to Ross Paulus, and I think it would be important just to put a similar question to him, because I believe he may have some insights that might help us here. Okay. Oh, Ross Paulus, can you hear us, first of all, making sure you can hear us?
Yes, I can, family, loud and clear.
Please. If I may put this question to you. In your introduction, of course, you, note the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation, and your other titles, okay, which I know are linked to the Ethiopian Orthodox Tahido Church, okay. So if I may put the same question to you, okay, it'd be interesting to see how you respond. Did Rastafari, in your understanding, arise before Christianity? Ethiopia. His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, was the last reigning monarch of Ethiopia's Solomonic dynasty. The Solomonic dynasty traces its ancient ancestry to King Solomon of Israel and the Queen of Sheba, biblical figures who may have lived during the 10th century, before the Christian eras.
His Majesty himself confirmed that we have the oldest version of the Bible. And in confirming that, he also confirmed that he himself had it translated to the modern language of his people. So by His Majesty's own acknowledgement, we know that Rastafari is from the beginning of ancient time of humanity, when man, the knowledge of the deity, the supreme being, the supreme creator, the Alpha and the Omega, the laws of Mahat, the laws of the universe. That is Rastafari.
Okay.
From beginning. Yes. No beginning, no ending, everlasting.
Absolutely.
Everlasting.
Absolutely. And of course, His Imperial Majesty, of course, belong to a lineage, okay, which is amongst the oldest continuous monarchs in the world, okay, going back thousands of years. So clearly, it must have been before Christianity. So
Christianity.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
My Lord.
Thank you. This is good. A further question, which I just want to pick up on. I recognize in the formation and the modern articulation of Rastafari, I recognize great Africans such as Edward Wilmot Blyden, His Excellency Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and of course, the current president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, as being people who, of course, either consciously or unconsciously, but always consciously, are adherents to Rastafari in upholding fundamentals and, of course, Pan-Africanist fundamentals. Am I correct in that interpretation that Edward Wilmot Blyden, Marcus Garvey, of course, His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie I, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and President Ibrahim Traore are of course, an excellent example of Rastafari and indeed Pan-Africanism, which of course have direct parallels. Would I be correct in that interpretation? If I can put this question to Priest Forrester.
My Lord.
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I said, Martin Luther King and Marcus Garvey.
Marcus Garvey, yes.
Yes. They are the forerunners. You know, they came in the time when our nation, our people need proper guidance, proper direction, you know.
Yes.
And they stand out as Pan-Africanists to show the way of repatriation and recognition, you know. So we understand that these are forerunners, especially Mr. Garvey.
Yes.
You know, he stand out above them all to point our people back to their original way of life and the place where they all have their inheritance. So we thank them all, my Lord.
Thank you. Thank you. My priest, if I may ask you this question, and forgive me if I'm being a little direct. Is Excellency Marcus Garvey Jamaica's first national hero and clearly a remarkable human being, the founder of UNIA, with more than 4 million people, organized at a time when we didn't have social media, didn't have all these facilities, okay? But was he a Rasta, or was he a Pan-Africanist? Why would we place him in the pantheons of great Africans?
My Lord.
Yes, sir.
The knowledge show, because you know, is wisdom, knowledge, understanding. So the knowledge shows that Marcus Garvey, as a black man, is a Rasta man.
Okay.
You know, but in the early stage of his movement, he had to prune his locks, you know, to meet with the heads of other governments so that he could put forward our plea or reason for, you know, carrying our locks, you know. So my knowledge showed me that he, as a forerunner, he pruned his locks to meet all these heads of government, my Lord.
I understand. In other words, he was in a hostile environment and he adjusted. I understand. The challenge I receive also, my priest, is the same for His Imperial Majesty, His Excellency, Haile Selassie as well. He never grew locks. He never grew locks either, did he? Okay. How would we, in relation to Rastafari, how do we classify him if he never grew locks himself?
The understanding there now is the king, you know, we have prophet, which is Marcus Messiah, and you have the priest, which is King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, and you have the king who sit on the throne.
Yes.
So that's the Honorable, you know, King Selassie I. He sits on the throne.
Yes.
He governs the place where we're from, you know. He stand out to defend our right as a Rasta man.
Yes.
My Lord.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Now we've lost Paulus for the moment, so I would ask you
my Lord.
I would just ask this follow-up question to you in relation to His Majesty and the Ethiopian World Federation. If I can ask this question of you, okay?
Yes, my Lord.
Clearly, he was there. It was at his instigation that the EWF was formed. My knowledge on this suggests that it was formed to enable Africans, particularly in America, who contributed, particularly those who contributed to the Italian-Ethiopian War and enabled Ethiopia to fight off the Italians. He wanted to create an organization that provided a path, particularly for Africans within the US, to come and visit and be a part of Ethiopia, which is why Shashamani was granted to them. Is my understanding of history correct?
That's correct. Because of us in the Western world here, it was setting a place for us. Yes, that's correct.
That is correct. So the EWF was established by His Majesty to provide a means by which Africans, particularly in the US and eventually from the Caribbean as well, would have a route back to Ethiopia, and he had granted to us all Shashamani as the land for us, those in the diaspora who want to come back to Africa, back to Ethiopia. Okay, and that responds to many questions I've received from others, and I note here it's also in the chat. Someone suggested that His Majesty never wished to encourage us to return. Clearly, that is clearly a misunderstanding of history. Okay, and I wonder. If I may, my priest, I see that we've got Russell Singh has returned. I'm going to try to bring him back into the. Let's see if I can bring him back in here. If I can bring him in now. Let's see if I can bring him in. Oh no, he's not there. No, not under that one. Russell Singh, can you hear us? They're making sure we can hear us first of all.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Perfect. We can now. Yeah, that's perfect. Yes. That's perfect. So I'm not sure if you heard my question to Priest Forrester. In regards to the EWF and its purpose, I recited my understanding of history that it was inspired by His Majesty, that is Haile Selassie I, to encourage African Americans, particularly those who assisted and supported Ethiopia to fight off the Italians. So the Italian-Ethiopian War. Ethiopia was able to successfully fight them off, and therefore they were there in the defense of Ethiopia. And in doing so, it granted Shashamani as land for Africans in the diaspora to come back and be a part of Ethiopia. That understanding, according to Priest Forrester, is correct understanding of history. Do you agree?
Agree.
Yes, I will even go further.
Please go ahead. Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, please.
From the time of the Civil War, from the time of enslaving, the Abyssinians have been fully involved in negotiation for the return of our people to the African continent. Emperor Theodore gave Abe Lincoln billions of gold bullion in order to fight the Civil War. So
if I may, my boss, forgive us. You mentioned Emperor Theodore. Can you take explain who Emperor Theodore is, just for the benefit of my audience? I know who Emperor Theodore is, but I suspect many will not. So please
if you go back to the period, if you go back to the period of the American Civil War, you will find that Emperor Theodore was the emperor of Ethiopia, and in so he granted Mr. Lincoln billions of gold bullion in order to cover all was necessary for them to win the war. So the Abyssinian Ethiopian has been involved for many years for the returning of our people. So when His Majesty finally established the Federation was the same purpose, to complete the returning of our people that were taken into shackled slavery. Many of them were subjugated to new religion, new ways of life. So the Ethiopian World Federation as a government was sent as a government to government in order to negotiate these physical reality as it relates to the returning of Ethiopian Africans to the continent.
Yes.
This is why His Majesty made the example by giving Shashamani to all who wish to return. So
Wonderful.
He set the example for the rest of the African continent for returning of our people to all other areas of Africa. So His Majesty himself embodied the physical, what we call to return back to our land. You have reparation. We have repatriation. The rights to return to the land that we were taken by the European forcibly to the Caribbean and the rest of the Western Hemisphere. So this is what it's for.
Now, if I may, Ross, because I know for many who are listening to this podcast, that will be a revelation. That in fact, there is a route back to Africa. That in fact, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Haile Selassie I, established the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation, specifically to enable Africans in the diaspora, particularly the historic diaspora, a route back to Africa. And I'm assuring you there are tens of millions, possibly hundreds of millions, who are unaware of that information. Okay. The obvious question, I'm going to ask you is, how do they contact the EWF? How can they arrange for their exodus from the country from which they've been in for too many generations? How can we effect that process? What would be your recommendation to them?
My Lord.
Yes, Russ Polis. There are hundreds of millions of Africans who are unaware,
hundreds of millions,
who are unaware that Shashamani exists. They were unaware that His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie had established the EWF to facilitate the return of Africans back to Africa, in this case to Ethiopia. And land has been given to us that we can go to Shashamani and claim our rights.
The question and the answers is quite simple. The Federation was sent for the black peoples of the world in order to effect unity, solidarity, liberty, freedom, and self-determination.
Yes.
Our connection with him is not very good.
To secure justice.
Okay.
And
right. Yes, our connection with you is not very good today. Yeah, our connection with you today is not very good. We lose you every so often. Do you want to try one more time? If you stop.
Should I repeat?
Yes, please do, please.
Yes.
Yes, I think we've lost him again. All right, I'm going to take him out of the stream for the moment and let him come back in again.
This Federation.
Sorry, my Ross. We keep losing you. We keep losing you. I'm sorry to say.
Connection is quite bad this evening.
Yes, I'm really sorry. So I'm going to take you out the stream.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Can I ask you if you could leave the stream and then reconnect? You see if that makes a difference. All right. Thank you.
Oh,
thank you.
Okay.
If you would. Thank you.
My
Thank
Lord.
you. If I come back to you, my priest.
Yes, my Lord.
I suspect you may not have the information that I want in relation to the Ethiopian World Federation. But I suspect it would be relatively easy to identify officers of the EWF, the Ethiopian World Federation, if the audience use their search engines. And the officers of the EWF would become apparent. That would be correct, yes? That would be correct?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Okay. Or we can reach the masses of people and let them know about the EWF.
Please, yes.
All that come through the Ethiopia, the ABIC, our church stand to guide and to direct the people to the land in Shashamane and in other states, because our priest, King Emmanuel, shows natural that, Africa will open its door as soon as they know that we are ready to come home.
Yes.
So the people would have a link with the EABIC, and the ABIC will keep them informed on the EWF. But the EWF has a headquarters also, and a chairman, I think a president too. So it's for Priest Oshing to give us that link,
Okay.
My Lord.
Thank you. I see he's now returned. Hopefully we can speak to him directly this time. Let's see. Are you able to give us an email address for the EWF? So those of my audience who would wish to reach out to them with the intention that they can return, can do so. Do you have details available?
At this present time, Councillor,
the
International
motivator.
Executive Body does exist. But as you are aware, we are now defining the 6th region of the Federation. This 6th region will focus entirely on the CARICOM region and also the other 3 regions.
Priest Forrester, thank you for your diligence, and we're so pleased. Let me put you back on the screen now. We're so pleased.
Welcome, Mikey.
Thank you that you've been able to stay with us. Okay, now,
my Lord,
my next question, and this is really important. You've outlined the purpose of Rastafari and its intent. Okay, you've been able to explain to us the way of life of a Rasta. It's really a consciousness of a Rasta. Okay, you've also summarized for us the 3 primary mansions: the Nyabinghi, the Bobo Ashanti, and the 12 tribes. And you've also clarified that Rastafari, the consciousness, came before Christianity as we know it. Of course, because clearly His Majesty's lineage is before Christianity. Okay, and you've also highlighted the fact that people such as Edward Blyden, of course, Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, Thomas Sankara, and President Ibrahim Traore are examples of Rastafari in action. The consciousness, that's what we're referring to, the way of life, is there. Okay, you've made that clear. But you've also indicated that, to my questions in relation to the EWF and Shashamane, that is a route for Africans in the diaspora, whether you be in the United States or in Jamaica, whether you be in Britain or indeed in Brazil, that Shashamane is there, and there's a route in, and they just need to identify the local EWF officers, make contact, and therefore through the EWF, access to Ethiopia and Shashamane is possible. Okay, that is well. Okay.
Yes.
But in our earlier discussion, you also spoke about myself, and I have a very anglicized name. Okay. As you know, I enjoy studies. I enjoy the research and the discovery.
My Lord.
Okay. And you also granted me, and you referred to me as my Lord, which I'm honored by. Can I ask you, why refer to me as my Lord? Why is that an appropriate descriptor to someone who just has a very straightforward, simple name? but you refer to as my Lord. Explain that courtesy.
Okay, my Lord. That word is from the beginning, my Lord, because my Lord is that truth in us, the conscience we carry. It represents my Lord. The truth we speak, it represents my Lord.
Yes.
And even our standard of the way of life, it represents my Lord. So when I say my Lord, I'm looking at the inner man. I'm talking to the inner man, that conscience in man, my Lord, my King, my prophet, my priest, is that the integrity and uprightness of the man. And that's how we come by the name my Lord. So my Lord is given to all who accept truth and right, and those who want to return to the motherland, So I learned that from my priest, to bless each other, not with a handshake, but with a heart shake.
Yes.
So we shake the heart of man when we say my Lord.
Right.
My Lord.
Well said. Well said. Praise Jah Rastafari. Oh yes, absolutely. Now, my last question, and I can see by the messages I'm receiving on my phone, where can my audience obtain information about yourselves? Reach out to you. Is there a website or an email address that you are able to share?
There is a website, and the website is visible. But at this time, I'll just pass on the address.
Yes, that's fine. And I will share it.
And that address is 10 Mile Bull Bay, St. Andrew. And it's the EABIC 10 Mile Bull Bay, St. Andrew. You get all the information if you try to link up that number.
Okay.
That address.
That's the website address.
I could use my number for the connection so we can link with the email address for this time.
So
my Lord.
So what I will do in that case,
my number.
No need to give it out on the air, boy. What I will do, in the re-edited version of this transmission, I'll include all those details on the screen and in the comment section on the YouTube channel, so that those who wish to reach out to you, if they go to that section, they'll see that information. It is well, my priest, it is well. The fact that you've been so open and clear with us is been a great help. It is a great help. Okay.
Thank you.
Can I, to close, what will be your final word to the people? What's your final word to the people?
My final word to my family and friends and neighbors is to start to correct ourselves. Yes. As I said, the priest is here to make the crooked straight, and to make the dirty clean, and to make the have not to have, because we come for those who have no helper, those who have nothing. We the EABIC Church, through the founder and leader, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, we have provided place for people of this type, and we are ready to guide the nations. We are looking for all nations. Every knee should bow and every tongue should confess to the Sabbath day. That's where we all would, make ourselves right within the Sabbath day. Calling upon all nations to acknowledge and to respect the Sabbath day.
Yes.
We don't want to ignore the truth and right, so we can make ourselves straight, my Lord.
Yes.
A few words.
Well said, well said. And what I note, and for the audience sake here, just for the audience sake, is that when I'm amongst Rastas like this, there is no mental health problem. There is no mental health
My
problem.
Lord,
Yes.
there's
no mental health problems. Yep. What I always experience is happiness and contentment. Yes.
Yeah.
Because there are so many of our people across the world who are living with tension because they're living in this contradiction. Yeah, this contradiction. Yeah, and it's that contradiction that creates that mental health stresses. Okay, but when I'm amongst Rastas, they're very clear about their identity, their roots, and their purpose. And you've heard this inspired African man speak. And he's no doubt of his certainty of himself, his identity. And with that confidence, you can move nations. Honorable Priest Forrester, I want to thank you for your sharing and caring with us today. I want to thank you.
I thank you too, my priest, my king. And I welcome you.
I'm not a priest. I'm just an ordinary. I'm nowhere as great as you, sir. I am nowhere as great as you. But what you have shared has been moving. And I know for many, a revelation that there is a route back to Africa. A place was designated decades ago. It was just lack of awareness. Yep. Yeah, lack of awareness.
My Lord.
So we can and will do better. Oh yes.
We'll do that.
Thank you, my priest. Thank you for being my guest today.
Welcome, my king.
And we
looking forward for.
Yes.
Yes, my Lord. Looking forward to start again.
We will do it again. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good day. And we appreciate you because you are 6 hours behind us. So I know we can hear the cockerels speaking.
Oh, my king. This is a good moment for our people.
Yes.
To understand that, it's just one way.
Yes.
One way.
Yes.
One aim. One destiny. Give thanks, Honorable President. Finally, President Abraham, as Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And as the Bible says, when Shiloh comes, so we see Honorable President Abraham Tari and Shiloh working with the Messiah, my Lord.
Thank you for those closing words, because President Ibrahim indeed Traore, I know we hear these words of encouragement. You're right. His work is divine work. Thank you, my
Our Shiloh. We thanks to Shiloh, my king.
Liberty.
You're welcome.
Liberty. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Wow.
All the best.
All the best.
My Lord.
Being a member of the Rastafari community, global community. It's an important community, one in which has been a source for inspiration for all of the African leaders that you could care to mention. And somewhere along the line, you will see Rastafari, Rastas amongst them. The most recent example of display was the march on the 30th of April in support of President Ibrahim Traore, the president of Burkina Faso. And what you saw in that march was Rastas at the head, the center, supporting President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, because they understand, appreciate the importance of his presidency, the examples, the exemplar that he represents. In our next transmission, we'll give further information about a visit we're planning for Burkina Faso. And that visit will, most probably, with the right numbers, enable us all to meet with him directly. But right now, we need to plan. And we hope that these transmissions, where the information is quality information, not filtered through the usual international press, okay? Yeah, nothing like that. Where you receive the information from source, authenticated from source. Therefore, you can trust its quality, trust the content. Oh yeah, that's the way forward. That is the way forward. Ndidi Uwechu, okay, the genius international journalist from Nigeria. And then she has said, given the state of Nigeria, or in brackets Africa, okay, I think people haven't yet made the mental link that they are responsible for the kind of existence they hand over to their children. I'm going to say this again. Given the state of Nigeria, indeed Africa, I think people haven't yet made the mental link that they are responsible for the kind of existence they hand over to their children. It is in that philosophy that the Motivator show operates. We are conscious of our responsibility to hand over to our children a better place than we found it when it's handed to us. And for that reason, the Motivator show exists. To provide good quality information so you can make good quality decisions. And remember, collaboration in unity is strength. Working by yourself has limited prospects. But working together in unity is strength. And for these reasons, it is so important that if you have not signed up for the treaty, I'm going to put it on the screen again, if you're of the diaspora and you haven't signed up for the treaty, the Pan-African Treaty of the 6th Region African Diaspora, okay, it's intended for us here in the diaspora, particularly those of the historic diaspora, disconnected from our roots for hundreds of years. Sign up to the treaty, become part of the family, so you, together, can focus your energies, your resources to Africa. The email address to request a copy of the treaty you can sign is Pan-African Treaty, African Diaspora, without the ADN, at gmail.com. It's on the screen. Again, it will be included in the comment section of the re-edited version of this podcast. There you go. I hope we find you well. If we doesn't, exercise, eat well, ensure you have the best medical care. Because you are the change makers. Not me. You are the change makers. And we want the very best for our children, for our families. We want the very best for them. But we cannot do it by ourselves. We must collaborate. In unity is strength. It's the Motivator here. I hope you enjoyed that fantastic podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, or at the very least, give us a like. And don't forget the next video on screen. Click through and enjoy.